Today, we're diving into a really unique blueprint for gender roles, one that kind of flips some of our basic assumptions about the place of men and women in society right on their head. And look, this isn't just some abstract thought experiment. It's a very detailed proposal for a complete social overhaul, and it's all drawn from one seriously thought-provoking lecture. So let's just ask it straight up. What are the ideal roles for men and women today? It's a huge question, right? And it feels more relevant than ever. Well, this particular lecture offers a very specific, and yeah, some might say pretty controversial answer. Let's get into it. All right, so here's our game plan for breaking this all down. First, we'll dig into the core problem as the speaker sees it, this idea of missing role models in society. Then we'll look at the historical roles of men and women and explore why things might have gone off track. And finally, we'll get to the main event, the proposed blueprint for a whole new kind of harmony. Okay, so at the absolute heart of this argument is a pretty bold claim that modern society is basically adrift. Why? Because we no longer have clear, respected ideals for what it means to be a man or a woman. It's like we've lost our true north for gender roles. Now, to really get this, we have to understand a crucial Korean concept, sung. It's way more than just a role model. Think of it as an ideal figure, an archetype that embodies a set of values so perfectly that they just naturally command respect and act as a moral compass for everybody else. The speaker's whole point is that right now, both the male and the female sung are totally missing. And what happens when these ideals disappear? Well, the consequence is huge. According to this view, without these figures to look up to, societies become aimless, even gloomy. Both men and women are left feeling kind of confused about what their purpose is supposed to be. So, if we're missing these ideals, how on earth did that happen? Well, the lecture traces the roots of the problem way back to the post-Korean War era. This was a time when men were giving a very specific, all-consuming mission. As you can see, this journey had a really clear beginning, a super intense middle, and, well, a very uncertain end. Men were tasked with rebuilding the entire economy, becoming, in the speaker's own words, breadwinning machines. And you know what? They did it. They absolutely succeeded. But the problem was, once that mission was over, they were just left there, without a new sense of purpose. And this is a really crucial point. Being a provider, bringing home that paycheck was absolutely essential for survival and for growth, no question. But, and this is the key, that role, by itself, wasn't enough to create a song, that deeply respected father figure. An ideal needs a purpose that goes beyond just the economic stuff. Now, for the other side of the coin, during this exact same period of intense economic building, the source argues that women were meant to be taking on a totally different but equally important task. The lecture uses this really powerful metaphor to explain the intended roles. Think of it like this. Men were the builders of the economic hardware, the factories, the roads, the companies. Women were supposed to be the designers of the societal software, the culture, the wisdom, the social fabric. But as we're about to see, that's not quite what happened. So why were women unprepared for this? The lecture suggests that because no one really explained this greater purpose to them, women naturally focused on what was right in front of them: domestic tasks, raising kids, personal hobbies. This wasn't a failure of effort on their part, but a failure of vision from society. So the result was, when the men finally completed their first task, the women just weren't ready to step in with their second task of providing that social guidance. And this historical unpreparedness, according to the speaker, led directly to what's described as a major societal misstep, a wrong turn that has created a lot more conflict instead of harmony. This quote really gets right to the heart of the argument. It suggests that the true ideal for women isn't to be a worker in that traditional corporate sense. Instead, it's to embody the archetype of a mother on a massive societal scale, someone who can truly understand and address the suffering of all people. So from this point of view, when women jump into the corporate world, they're not just taking on a new job. They're entering a system that was fundamentally designed by men for men. The lecture argues that this not only displaces men from their roles, but also kind of sets women up for failure, because they might not have the same kind of hard-earned experience with the often brutal realities of the outside world and corporate politics. Okay, so if we've lost our way, how do we get back on track? Well, the lecture doesn't just diagnose the problem, it offers a really detailed blueprint for a new kind of harmony between men and women. The whole idea pivots on this. Women should step away from competing in the corporate world and instead take on the massive role of being society's architects and designers. Their work isn't to manage the old existing structures, but to actually envision brand new ones. So, what does this new model look like in practice? Well, it's a four-step process. Step 1. Women get together and identify the real problems facing society. Step 2. They do the research and design the solutions, the projects, the content. Step 3. They present these fully formed plans to men. And finally, Step 4. Men gain a powerful new purpose by taking these plans and actually executing them. It's a complete reimagining of how things get done. So you can see this new complementary relationship taking shape. Women provide the what and the why. They are the visionaries. Men, who are seen as the natural builders, get a new and meaningful purpose by providing the how, the execution. It's a fundamental shift from competition to collaboration. And this brings us right back to the beginning. The speaker believes that through this harmonious process where each gender is contributing its unique strengths, those missing societal ideals, the true, respected saying of the mother and the father, will finally be created. So, what do you think? Is this a revolutionary vision for a more harmonious future? Or is it a step backward, a return to a world where men and women are kind of put back into separate spheres? It's a really provocative idea, and definitely one that's sure to spark a lot of debate.